Earnestly podcast here. Welcome back, Danny G, on loan from our mutual friend Duke Duke Bennett, friend of the show. Duke Loves Wrestling Pod. What's up, bud?
Hey DJ, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. I can't call it, man. Um, we wanted to do this podcast. This is kind of a bonus episode here of the feed because it's been a lot. We were talking a couple weeks ago about Boston sports as a whole. And you're obviously a New England guy, Boston guy.
Oh yeah,
And Boston for the last 2 decades have had a pretty nice run in sports. Um, and going back to 2000 and whatnot with the Patriots, of course, and the Celtics won a title in between there, and it's been relevant. A couple of final appearances there too. On top of that, Bruins been pretty decent. Red Sox have won a couple World Series in that span. But we were talking, I think it was week 3 of the NFL, and the Patriots had, I think, this loss to who was it? They lost to the time. I can't remember who it was.
Baltimore.
Yeah, it was Baltimore. It was Baltimore, right?
Yeah,
And it sparked a discussion about how things are kind of looking at Boston sports as of late. And this is right when the Ime Udoka story broke too, especially that same weekend.
yep.
Which we'll get to right now, actually. But after a nice 2-decade run, Boston sports kind of a little bit of decline now.
Yeah, well, this is. Let me explain it to you this way. Is what is hard for people around here. Okay,
All right, go ahead.
my oldest son was born November 24th, 2001. All right.
Okay.
At the time, the New England Patriots were 6-5. Okay, they went on to win the last 5 games and win their first Super Bowl in 2002.
Right.
So my son is a 20-year-old, soon to be 21. He has seen 6 Super Bowls. He has seen 4 World Series, an NBA championship, and a Stanley Cup in his lifetime. Not counting the additional, 2 times the Bruins went to the finals, 2 times the Celtics have gone to the finals, the numerous Patriots AFC championship games, 2 additional Super Bowls. So the people in this area, especially the younger people, don't know any different. They don't.
That's
You know,
clear.
they don't know any different. They don't know what it's like. So it's a hard time for a lot of people in New England here. For an older guy like me, I remember the Sullivan Stadium days of the Patriots. I remember, the Doug Flutie at quarterback. And I really got into the Patriots when they drafted Drew Bledsoe. That was when I really, really got into it. More so much that was pretty much my senior year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been through it. I've been through a lot of the losing years, the Buckner years with the ball going through his legs against your New York Mets.
I mean, obviously, I was alive when it happened, but I was not old enough to appreciate it. I keep telling folks that for me on my end too. Like as a Met fan, I cheer for all New York teams for basketball, and I've had a kind of a decent run myself in the last 2 decades. 3 Heat championships, 2 Giant Super Bowls, both off your boys, especially 2, which is great. I've gotten even the Rangers have won in a long time, but I was at least 14 years old when they won a Stanley Cup, so I was able to appreciate it 14 years old.
Yep.
The Mets, while I was actually, alive to when '86 happened, again, not old enough. So the Mets, is the one team that's still kind of like, okay, we gotta get this done.
You got a shot this year, buddy.
I hope so, man. But,
Got a good shot.
That last week, though, last week I was depressed though. But
it's all right. New season starting this week. It's a new season now.
But we're gonna talk about Boston now. We put Boston in the focus here now. What is
I tried.
I guess we can start right now with the Ime. That's probably the bigger story of the last couple of weeks, really, in Boston. Obviously, Celtics were in the finals last year. First year as head coach, fantastic job, and then this comes out. What is the vibe there right now?
Literally less than a week before media day.
Yeah,
when it came out, and and it all just kind of dropped. And it's all honestly, it's kind of eerie. I mean, there's not much that has really come out. The big thing at first was the only reason it came out when it did was it was coming out from the Udoka camp because he was trying to get ahead of it, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
The press conference that they had, Brad Stevens doesn't get emotional. One of the things with him is he's kind of robotic, but he got emotional. He was not happy with the way things happened, what handled, and it's just an ugly situation. Even when they interviewed the players on Monday for media day, many of them still don't know the actual details, which it'll come out. It'll come out eventually. The only thing I can say about it is it can't be good. It can't be good. There's definitely more to it than a consensual
I agree.
office affair. It has to be, because I mean, face the facts, EJ. We've all been around. That stuff happens every workplace, everywhere. Stuff like that happens. It's never condoned, but no one ever really gets fired for it. You either, you might get moved around, you might get written up, you might get punished or something like that. But to be like suspended for a full year because of it, and let's face the facts, it's only a suspension because they asked him to resign and he said no. He didn't want to resign.
Okay.
He's like,
I didn't know that.
No. That's just me speculating. But I mean, if you think about it, if you're in his position, right? They ask you to resign. So if you quit, they may not be obligated to pay you.
Right.
Or they offered him a buyout and he said, no, if you're going to let me go, I want all my money. So
which I don't blame him for record.
That's where it could be. That's where it could be. So, eventually it'll come out. The basic synopsis going on right now is he's never going to coach for the Celtics again. It's over. And there's actually, you probably saw what Matt Barnes said, when he basically came out and, hammered the Celtics. And then the next day retracted everything, took everything off of social media.
Right.
And then even since then has come back again and says, now that I know all the details, I'd be surprised if he ever coached in the NBA again. So we don't know. No one still really knows. I mean, the latest story that came out yesterday from Woj, basically kind of the words consensual was kind of removed from it. And it's basically just saying crude language and something else. I can't quite remember, but it's kind of sounded, it's kind of leaning more towards like a sexual harassment type thing now.
Right. That's what I get too. Like if you're ruining the word consensual out of the conversation after they push that. And again, when we first heard report, people like myself was talk about this, on the show about, well, okay, I get what there's team rules and I get all that, but it's consensual. And now
it's an office affair. You don't condone it. Nobody condones it, but you know what? In the realistic lines of things, life goes on, and they'll work it out in their personal lives, and that's that. As long as the office isn't affected, but for this to happen in the way that it did, it's definitely something. So, and the fact that they really didn't even go out and try to hire another coach, they just kind of promoted somebody else from within, just goes to show you how out of nowhere this kind of came. I mean, I think, like they said, they said they first got word of it in July.
Right.
And they started their investigation in July. And I honestly think they thought, all right, it's just a consensual relationship. We'll be able to move past this. But then when they got the results from the third-party independent firm, obviously Rick Grossbeck was like, we got a serious problem here.
Right. So here's the thing now, too, though. Obviously, we know he's suspended for a year. Probably not come back to the team ever. Most likely. We'll see what happens, how that gets played out. I did an Overrunners podcast last week discussing each team's win-loss total.
Yep.
Here's my question to you as a Celtics fan. How much wins does this cost the team, knowing that he's 1 year sample, goes to the finals? How much wins could this cost the team in a season not having a coach literally days before media day? And now you got to change things up and all that. How much wins would it cost this team, you think? What the impact, I guess? How much win do you think it'll cost them?
Nothing. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because I think having get a taste of where they were last year, I think that matured the players as a team a lot. I think that the immaturity that cost them the NBA championship is going to start to develop this year. I don't know if they'll win the championship again this year, but I see them at least getting to the Eastern Conference Finals again. And I don't think it's going to cost them anything. I mean, you've got the inexperience of a coach, and I get it, but face the facts. In the NBA, it's about the players. I mean, there are good coaches. Don't get me wrong, but I mean,
right.
Golden State wins with or without Steve Kerr. Let's face the facts. You know what I mean? So I definitely, I think that it has kind of set the team back a little bit in a sense where I shouldn't even say set them back. They've been taken aback by everything. But I think in a sense, this could actually bring them all together where they say, we really need to focus on being a more complete unit and getting the job done ourselves. And maybe, who knows, maybe they're going to rally around it and they'll say, we're going to win this for Ime. I don't think so, but who knows what they're going to do. But I'll tell you what, so far coming out of the preseason, it's only a couple games in, but they're playing like gangbusters and they're deep. They're loaded. They are loaded, even with Gallinari getting hurt, even with Robert Williams being on the shelf for the first couple of months. They're loaded. They got a shot to really do some damage this year.
And I said too over the summer, when during free agency, that even before free agency, I was saying that they needed Malcolm Brogdon, and they got him. Obviously,
yeah,
that's a big move.
That was huge. They have 4 point guards that can play.
Yeah,
you got obviously you got Smart, you got Derek White, you got Brogdon now, and you got Peyton Pritchard. Now, Peyton Pritchard, no, he's not a superstar. He's not going to ever be a team's number 1 point guard. But that guy's got a 10-year NBA career, and he's going to make $75 billion.
Right.
So they've got 4 guys that can play. They could realistically, now that they have Blake Griffin, if they stay healthy, they could go 10 or 11 deep during the regular season. Now, obviously, in the postseason, that'll get tightened up. You go your top 8 or 9, but they could realistically go. They could play 10 guys every night.
No, I think Boston will be in the mix, obviously. I think the only concern I have with the Celtics going forward is the East got way better on paper.
Oh, it did.
And Brooklyn, all of a sudden, and I said this too, like they, kind of added a really good bench around them, not knowing that Durant and Kyrie will come back. They actually added some nice pieces, not knowing that those guys will come back to the team. Now that that those guys are back, Ben Simmons has already played his first game, and obviously preseason, of course. I think Boston's trek to the finals will be a lot tougher than it was last year. And last year, for the record, last year was a pretty tough East also.
Yeah, I mean, you figure Milwaukee right off the bat. You got Milwaukee, Sixers.
Mm-hmm, absolutely,
you can't ever do that. You can't ever knock the Sixers out of it. Miami is going to be good because they're going to be good because they're well coached. They've got good players. They've got a good team. You got obviously the Celtics. You've got Toronto's not going to be bad.
Atlanta
is in there. You've got
a good Cleveland. You got Cleveland ascending too on top.
Cleveland with Donovan Mitchell now.
Yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot there. It's gonna be a really fascinating season for Boston. I think Boston will still be in the mix. Obviously, I think everything hinges on Jason Tatum and him taking that leap. We discussed it on the podcast when he came on back in May. He was a top 10 player. I have him ranked number 8-ish in that area at the end of the year. There's obviously still another tier to get to. Can he get there? We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if he can get there yet. There's still a lot of good guys, I think, ahead of him.
Oh, absolutely.
He's just the thing that people have to understand about Jason Tatum is he's not going to be that outspoken, brash leader that a guy like LeBron is.
Right.
He's not going to be like that. Or even like KD or Kyrie, those guys. He's not going to be like that. He's quiet, and he'd rather just, lead by example, I guess is the best way to put it.
Right. All right. Next Boston-related team here. Let's talk about the Patriots.
Okay.
1-3. Who's your core right now? I was teasing somebody the other day on the podcast. He's Frank Zappa's grandson. Was it Zappy?
Yeah. Oh, Billy Zappy. Yeah.
Zappy. Yeah. Pat's 1-3. I saw something also too. Brandon Marshall last week had put out a quote on Inside the NFL saying that Bill Belichick should be on the hot seat now, which I thought was kind of like, I don't know, that's kind of way too soon in my opinion. But Pat's 1-3. Obviously, it's a rebuilding situation. They made people forgot they made the playoffs last year. I mean, also lost in the first round, walkout round, but. The Patriots, people aren't that. I guess what's the vibe now? Because this is a team that's been the flag bearer for stability for the last 20 years in that city. What's the vibe now as the Pats have returned?
Oh, the big narrative is the coaching staff, is how awful the coaching staff is, having two Matt Patricia and Joe Judge run the offense.
Right.
I get it, and I agree with it. Yeah, but it is what it is. So the vibe is, like I said to you earlier, people just don't understand that this isn't the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick Patriots anymore. It's not. It's not. The Patriot way went away when Tom Brady and Bill Belichick separated.
Right.
It's not the Patriot way anymore. It's not. And I I don't think it's nearly as bad as everybody says, because I'm satisfied with all the Super Bowls and everything, and I'm okay with a few. I may never see another Super Bowl again for all I know, but it's not as bad as everybody thinks. I mean, especially if you watch the games, they've been in just about every game. They actually have been in every game, and Mac did not play well in the Baltimore game.
No.
That's for sure. Every interception he threw,
He did dance well though.
He did, yeah. And then he cried his way off the field. It looked like when he got hurt.
Bad time
But
to play.
it's not as bad as everybody thinks. I still think they're a 9, possibly 10 win team this year. They got a stretch of about the next 7 games where they're all winnable, and then it gets tougher again. So I still think they're going to be in it. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. They need the thing that people are always talking about here is they say, like, Belichick can't be coaching the same way because he doesn't have Brady anymore.
Right.
And that is true. When you have a quarterback like that, they are going to bail you out of a lot of situations. But I can also say that I don't think Tom Brady would be Tom Brady without Bill Belichick. And the narrative is become it was all Brady. Belichick had nothing to do with it. And
which I think is silly because,
it's 100% silly.
Yeah, he won in Tampa. Do you understand how good that roster is in Tampa?
Oh, the roster. Yeah, people. That's the one thing I talk to a lot of people about this. I'm like, it's not like Brady went to the New York Jets and took them to the Super Bowl.
Right.
He picked a spot. He picked a spot. He wasn't going to go to a team that needed anything. He went to a team that needed a quarterback. And that's 100% what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers needed, was a quarterback. They had the receivers. They had a running back. They added another running back in the process. They had a solid defense, and a little bit of luck goes a long way. And, he came in and willed them to a championship, and he did it. And all the power to him, because he's the greatest player of all time, but he didn't do it alone. And unless Belichick wins one without him, that's never going to change, because I don't know if you ever listen to Boston Sports Talk Radio, but
once in a while I'll hear like quotes and stuff from some of the DEI guys and whatever.
Yeah, you would never ever think that they have won the way that they won over the past 6 years with the way they criticize Bill Belichick.
Yeah, because
they constantly, all over his drafts, all his drafts. You could say all these things about any team in the league. There are very few teams that hit in every single draft, but just for an example, the Green Bay game the other day, you had, your third string quarterback, who's a rookie, actually get in the game and didn't play terrible. Your starting cornerback was a rookie. He had a pick 6 for an interception, return for a touchdown. You had Marcus Jones, punt returns. He averaged like 25 yards each punt return. Mm-hmm. You had Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris, 2 draft picks at running back. So they've done a lot of good things too. It's just they're not the 13 win every year Patriots right now, and people have a hard time with that around here.
Yeah, and I'll go a step further. I said this on record that I don't think Tom Brady saved his team. There's a talent issue in this team. They're not talented anymore. And you saw the Braves last year in New England. He kind of struggled in the year for the same reasons.
Yep. Yeah, just like the year. Yeah, they've got a good roster. They've got good receivers, but they don't have that Jamar Chase. They don't have that Justin Jefferson. They don't have Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or like someone like that. They've got 4 number 2s on the team is what they have.
Right.
Is what they have. But if you think about it, all those Patriots teams over the course of the years, like the only legit real number 1 top dog receiver Brady ever had was Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Wes Welker is a number 2. Edelman, as good as he was, is a number 2 because
Yes.
he's a slot guy.
Yes.
You know, he had Gronk at the other times with all that. But I mean, like in 2014, when they beat Seattle for the Super Bowl, their receivers were Edelman, you had Brandon LaFell, Danny Amendola, and you had Gronk. You know, it's just like, they've never really had that top dog receiver. They've always just had a good complement of receivers. But the difference was they had number 12, who
Yeah.
just is an assassin. I still think to this day, anytime he wants to win a game, he can.
So Belichick is not the problem, you think?
No, Belichick's not the problem.
Okay.
The people under him kind of are. I
Yeah,
won't
it's kind of a
deny that. I mean,
mixed matchup.
I would have been much happier if they would have brought Bill O'Brien back,
Yeah.
maybe to coach the offense, or hired. Even you'll probably laugh at this, but even bringing a guy like Adam Gase,
Yeah.
to run the offense, just a guy that has some offensive knowledge.
No, I agree with you 100%.
The problem is I think Belichick is tired of getting purged every year. He's tired of bringing people in, and then they end up getting new jobs, or they end up getting hired somewhere else.
That's the problem with success.
Yep.
It puts a spotlight on other guys and
so
get jobs.
He's at the point now where he wants to have people around him that he feels are going to be loyal to him.
Yeah, I agree. I see what you're saying. Is Mac Jones the answer? Are you still question marks there? Where are you on Mac Jones?
I think Mac Jones is going to be a good quarterback. I really do. I don't know. He'll never be Tom Brady, so people can't compare him to Tom Brady. He never, ever will be Tom Brady. But I think he's going to be I think he could be a good quarterback. I still think he needs to get stronger. I think he needs to be able to more zip on on that ball. But the first couple of, I'm saying don't compare, but I am comparing in a sense. Brady didn't have a ton of zip on his ball the first couple of years, and the first 3 Super Bowls weren't about Tom Brady. They were about complete teams.
Yeah.
The real Tom Brady became Tom Brady in 2007 when they had the undefeated year, when they stacked the team, and he really started chucking the ball around. And then in 2014, 16, and 18, Tom Brady was the Tom Brady that everybody knows now and helped win those Super Bowls.
All right. Red Sox. Last place in the AL East. 78-84 at the end of the year.
This is where you'll get the real negative out of me.
No, and that's okay. That's okay. We're just being real. This is a team that for the last 2 decades also has been kind of almost Patriot-like, not winning as much as the Patriots, but they've been in. If they're not winning World Series, they're in the conversation.
They won 4. Yep, they won 4 World Series
in 20 years.
They've also had 5 last place finishes the past 8 years.
Yeah. So what's the deal?
Right now, what the deal is the general manager, 120%. They hired a guy out from Tampa Bay, and he's running the Boston Red Sox, trying to run the Boston Red Sox the way he ran the Tampa Bay Devil Rays or the Tampa Bay Rays. And you can't do that in Boston. You can't. Right. And there's no reason you should be able to do that in Boston. Boston is a big market team. They print money out of that club. And there's no reason why you can't have a good minor league roster as well as a good major league roster at all times. They have the money to do it. And he kind of ran them like a bargain basement this year.
Right.
They spent money. They had a big payroll, but he just didn't spend the money wisely. They cheaped out. Instead of keeping Hunter Renfroe, they traded for Jackie Bradley Jr. and 2 prospects who will probably never make the major leagues. That was just one of the big examples. Instead of paying, they let Renfroe last year hit 30, I think it was 31 home runs. He drove in 98, something like that. That's hard to replace. You can't replace that. You just with Jackie Bradley Jr., who's a career under 200 hitter. And that was part of it.
Is it me they got kind of cheap last couple of years? Letting Mookie walk and all this stuff.
Yeah,
they get a little cheap after a while.
Yeah, like I said, they didn't spend the money wisely. They got to the point with Mookie Betts where they say he told them that he didn't want to stay. He denies that. It got to the point where they couldn't even get max value for him anymore because everyone just knew already he ain't going to stay. So They got nothing for him from the Dodgers. So that was one cheap out. Now they're talking about not re-signing Xander. So it was just today, actually. Alex Coric must have kind of had his last pregame press conference with the media, and he basically, he didn't air dirty laundry, but he basically came out and said we expect better next year, and we expect better from ownership and from management, and basically in a nice way came out and said, this is what I signed up for. This isn't what I signed up for. I'm not here to lose. We need help. We have a good team, but we needed help. The past 2 trade deadlines, Chaim Bloom did nothing. He dropped the ball. They got Eric Hosmer this year only because they didn't have to pay him. And then they got Tommy Pham, which was a good deal. I really hope they do keep Tommy Pham. But they also traded away their team leader in Christian Vasquez for absolutely no reason. There was no reason to do that. So it was a very weird season. It seemed very directionless. But I think you're going to see them spend some money this offseason. I don't know how.
So you think their stock is going down right now?
Oh, it's going way down. It's going way down. Their ticket sales. This was the lowest season. This was the lowest time. This was the lowest season attendance they've had in the Henry era. For the Red Sox, this is the lowest TV ratings they've had in the John Henry era, and they notice that stuff. That stuff matters to them. It does. So they'll do something. I mean, they're not going to get Aaron Judge. I know everyone.
I was just going to ask you that. Will they at least get in the room with them at least?
Come on.
Well, not they get him or not to the point, but will they even attempt to go get him?
I think publicly they're going to try to at least put that out there to make him look good. But I don't think he leaves the Yankees. I mean, come on. The Yankees don't lose players like him. They just don't.
Well, this is we say that, but this is not George Steinbrenner's Yankees anymore. These are the Suns who want to save money and are playing hardball. And now Aaron Judge, and not to make it about the Yankees and Aaron Judge now, but he bet on himself and he won. He did it, and he more than came through. And I'll tell you what, if the Yankees win a World Series this year too, especially on top of everything else this year, I don't think it's going to happen, but if they win the World Series this year too, there's no way they cannot pay this guy.
No, they got to pay him. And they're going to have to back up the Brinks truck. The problem with baseball now, EJ, is these ridiculously 10, 12-year contracts. That makes no sense to me. I mean, good for the players. Great for the players, but it hamstrings a team.
And the thing is, I understand the Yankees' gripe and their concerns. Like Aaron Judge is turning 31 next year.
Yeah.
And you give the guy a 10+ year contract, you may get no more than 3-4 years out of you might even get half of that contract of productive baseball.
Yeah, I mean, like look, they did it, that's what happened with California when they did it with Pujols. He was 31, 32 when he
same age, same scenario.
Same thing. Yep. They gave him all that money, and I mean, for a guy like Judge, I mean, for the Yankees, give him 5 years, $200 million. You know what I mean? Give him something like that. I think that would make him happy.
He ain't taking that though. He is not.
No, he's not. No, he's not, because someone else is going to go up to 8 years and $350.
He wants. What I gather from players, especially in baseball now, is that they prioritize the amount of years, not just the money anymore, but the amount of years. They want that coverage, that luxury. When Bryce Harper got the big deal in Philadelphia, it made sense. He was 26, 27 years old.
Yeah,
you're guaranteed to get at least a good 5 or 6 years out of that deal.
Yeah,
that contract with Judge will have a lot of player options in there, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and not only that, these like the max value, like the dollar value of a lot of these deals is legit, but it's not really like a 12-year contract. It's really, it ends up being like a 30-year contract.
I think the first thing I can see Judge having that Bobby Bonilla type deal later on the road.
Oh
just to alleviate cap space for the Yankees going forward.
People, I mean, it's everybone jokes about like the Bobby Bonilla Day thing and stuff like that, but Manny Ramirez is still getting paid from the Red Sox.
Is it really?
Yeah, he's still getting it's something like $500,000 a year.
That's why it's not publicized though. It's not as much as Bonilla's getting. Bonilla's getting $1.3 million a year.
Yeah, well, because you know why with the Bonilla was like that was like one of the first times that ever happened. I think.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I don't should ask you this, but are you a hockey guy?
Yes and no. I do watch the Bruins. I do watch. The vibe about the Bruins around here is not good.
Well, they were a
Not
playoff team
only
last
is
year.
it going to be a
They were a
long
playoff team last year, right? They were a playoff team last year.
They were, yeah, they were. They they
100
had a
points,
good
I think it
coach.
was.
Cassidy's a good coach. He did a really good job with that team, and he's in Vegas now. So I would pretty much bet on Vegas having a really good year. But he was tough on the players, and they didn't think that he was developing the young players the way he should. So they got rid of him. But the real problem there is definitely the GM. Can't
Okay.
draft. Can't draft. Hasn't drafted a top player in years or ever. And then the Bruins MO is they sign their own guys for too much money.
Okay.
Guys that are good players, but they give them more money than they're worth. That's been their MO for years.
But they're still a playoff team this year, I think, right?
This year, yeah, they could be a 7 or an 8 seed, I think.
Okay. Because I do love hockey. I'm not as detailed with it as other sports. Like I said, you get
Same
older.
with me. Same with me. I follow it. I know who's good. I know who's not. But
You have kids, you got a job. So at some point, certain things got to go by the wayside. You
yeah,
can't. I chose football and basketball, obviously, and baseball for the most part. I'm pretty
yeah,
much
I do those
engaged.
three, and then I throw wrestling in there, and then
Yeah, and
hockey.
wrestling too suffers as well too. To some degree,
Yeah.
especially this time of year. Speaking of wrestling, let's get to that real quick. And well, let me ask this quick first before we get to the AEW. Scale 1 to 10, how much are you looking forward to Extreme Rules this weekend?
Like an 8. I really am. I mean, I'll watch. I got some plans on Saturday with my daughter, so I
Okay.
don't know if I'll be home in time to catch the very beginning. But I'm excited. It's a good card. It's a good card. I'm going to SmackDown Friday night in Worcester.
Oh,
So that
nice.
should be
Okay.
fun.
Okay.
Yeah, so that should be fun. It should be a pretty good show. They've done a nice job with their pay-per-views for a while, even before Triple H took over. I felt like they really were delivering on all the pay-per-views.
I gotta say, and even come back watching in 2019, even with all the complaints about Raw not being great up until recently, I gotta tell you, WWE almost always knocks out of the park when it comes to pay-per-views.
Yeah, the guys definitely.
Or premium live events. Sorry.
Yeah, pay-per-views. They'll always be pay-per-views to me.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
They'll always be pay-per-views to me.
Right.
But no, I feel like that they always the rest of the wrestlers really step up their game for those. They really do. They really do, and I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good show. I do. I mean, now you want to have you wish Roman was on the card. I mean, obviously, but it's got a good enough lineup where they're okay. Without him.
I do think though, not having him on the card though, I do think absence with Hardcore Founder.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it is. Absolutely.
Right.
It does. And it's funny. I was talking to I did Duke last week, and
Yeah.
we were talking about Roman, and how being an older and a long-term wrestling fan, I love the fact that he's held the belt for so long. I love it because I remember when Ric Flair was champion for 3 years at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and Hogan was champion. Because eventually, every time they fought, you were like, could this be the night? Could this be the night? And night after night after night after night, they would win. So eventually, when Roman does lose, it's gonna be big.
And it's important that they do it this way too, because I believe, especially back when Hogan had for 4 years and Flair for 3, and even in the early 90s when guys had it for like 9 months or a year, if they're losing the belt, it has to matter. There has to be a reason why. It has to have an impact. When Hogan lost it to DiBiase or Andre, then they go to DiBiase, of course. The referees, that was a swing to get the Macho a month later. WWE right now is setting up the next guy. It can't just drop for the sake of dropping. I know there's people say, "Well, can you lose it already?" Okay, fine, but it has to make sense.
Yeah,
I still think Cody is next on line.
I do too. We talked about the last time. I do think Cody is the next guy. Yeah. I think even with Triple H coming in now, I definitely just think Cody is the next guy.
But I will say, I'm kind of fascinated now with all the press that Seth Rollins been getting now outside of the WWE bubble.
Yeah,
I am curious if they're considering another Seth run but not the one he did 3 years ago when he was the babyface. Where, because to me, this Seth Rollins right now, just watching in real time the last 3 years and watching this run prior to that is my favorite one.
Oh, he's the best. You know why? You know why he's the best? Because he doesn't win, and yet he's still over. Think about it. He hasn't really won very many matches. He never beat Cody. You know what I mean? He loses almost every match.
A big match, right?
Every big match, but he's still over with the crowd. So yeah, this is his absolute best character he's ever done, and I completely agree with you. I'd love to see them give him a chance at the belt. They're going to eventually separate the belts again. They have to. They can't keep it.
Yeah, the question is when
on one guy the whole time. Not if they want to keep having two shows. So they'll do that. So I could see Cody being one champion and Seth being the other, and then them unifying them another time and having one of them have a run with both belts eventually. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah,
that would be kind of fun. But I think Cody's the next guy. I think Seth is up there, and other than that, there's guys at NXT that I could see eventually, being the next guy, but none of them are ready yet.
Are you enjoying Hunter's WWE?
Yeah, I like it. I do. I do. I do. I don't want him to. It's so weird because I really do like Johnny Gargano, and I do too. I like him a lot, but I understand that people want to see more Gunther versus Gunther versus Sheamus.
Well, of course.
And they really necessarily want to see Johnny Gargano versus Chad Gable. So both can be very good matches, but both have different places on a card. Gunther against Sheamus is going to be the match that you're all showing up to see. And Gargano and Gable are going to be one of the warm-up matches, but they're going to put on a hell of a show for you at the same time.
Oh, Duke and I had a conversation about a month ago about this. Like Duke, him and I kind of disagree to some degree. He wants guys that are muscles and this and that, and I'm with him on that. Like I'm not with the whole and this is what AEW gets wrong all the time. Every match has to have a flip and skip and this and that. I'm okay with all that stuff, but get to me in doses. Don't get to me like every single match.
I've had this.
Make him feel special.
Yep, I've had this. I agree. Yeah, there's a place on the card, and sometimes it is the main event. Sometimes it is the top match. But you gotta. Not every guy is going to look like Roman. Not every guy is going to look like Drew.
Right.
It just you can't. They can't. You'd like it all way, but it would get boring if that was the way it is. I don't mind. Like I enjoy Johnny Gargano. I enjoy guys like Sami Zayn, who's excellent.
He's fantastic. That might be the best story going wrestling right now.
Yeah,
Sami in the bloodline.
Yeah, honestly. He's excellent. Yeah. I like. You could definitely see that the vibe around WWE is a little bit more relaxed. That the wrestlers are actually having a little bit of fun out there now, as opposed to when Vince was there. And the one thing I'll say is it does show you Vince's time definitely had passed. He just wasn't relating to the wrestlers anymore.
I agree.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He still could build a star and he still knew how to do it. But honestly, Theory, give me a break. I don't want to, get that guy off my TV.
I like Theory, but I don't want him on my title picture though.
Oh no. Yeah. Exactly. I'll give you that. Get him, but and honestly, what were you doing with Keith Lee and Karrion Kross? Were you just basically trying to tell Triple H you don't know what the hell you're doing or something like that? Because I mean, you had two. The Karrion Kross Scarlet ring entrance was classic. Made for TV.
And I'm not even a big Karrion Kross fan. I wasn't even a big fan of his NXT, but his entrance is amazing.
The entrance is worth it alone. But he brings and puts him in a gladiator costume. What are you doing? And then Keith Lee.
Bearcat Lee, come on now, dude.
Exactly. You blew it. And I'm not saying that you need to make Keith Lee your champion or anything like that, but you blew it there. What were you doing? It just, and there's a lot of things like that. The 24/7 title stuff. I was so sick and tired.
I mean, that didn't bother me because that was stuff they just did the full time at 3-hour Raw. I get it. Let me say this real quick though, and I'll say it. I've been saying it, for a couple months now. The worst thing that happened to AEW was Vince retiring.
Yes. Yep. You're right.
Because
Yep.
now people are starting to see what's going on there with under Hunter, and now they're intrigued now.
Yep.
Don't be surprised
Well,
to start seeing the Exodus in the next year or so.
yeah. Well, let's be honest. A lot of these guys, like a guy like Christian, for instance, he may not have ever left WWE, but when you're going to throw a boatload of money at a guy,
Yeah,
he's going to take it.
especially at his age.
At his exactly, you know what I mean. He's gonna take it. The only guy like Daniel Bryan surprised me. Danielson, he's the one that surprised me the most. But I think that he was limited in WWE because Vince didn't. Vince put a lot into him, but the first couple times he put a lot into him, he got hurt.
Yeah.
And he couldn't keep going. So Vince told him you can't do certain things. And now, you go to that company and Tony Khan just says, sure, whatever. I'm going to let you do whatever you want to do. And there's you've seen the injured list with that company.
Of course.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Let's go there. That company now, AEW. Lots of drama. Some of it, I'm not even sure it's real or not, but even the stuff that we know it's real, it's bad enough. Yeah. Obviously, we went through the CM Punk stuff last month and a half. He's the rumors are that he's going to get a buyout. He's done there. I don't know if it's true or not. I will give Tony Khan credit for this. Him recognizing finally that he's a problem. And it's funny for me because I didn't. Again, I watched, as you know, I told you I didn't watch for 17 years between 02 and 19, so I missed the Punk years in WWE. Yeah, I knew who he was. I heard the stories and that. And what Punk's 1 year in AEW confirmed to me was that everything we heard about Punk
was true.
WWE was pretty much, was confirmed that he's an asshole, a prick, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what though, watching AEW last couple weeks, I don't miss him.
No, I said this on Duke too. When he came back a year ago, it was awesome.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
Awesome. And then he opened his mouth, and then it went all downhill after that. And I'll give him credit for this. He's smart. The guy is smart. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing with this press conference. All this, he fed Tony Khan. I want to help you. I want to help your company. I want to do this bullshit. He went in there and he had a chance to make a lot of money, and he did all that at that press conference. Basically, like, what are you going to do? Fire me? Fire me. Go ahead. I'll take you to court and I'll sue you and I'll make sure that I get all my money. Is what that boils down to.
Right.
What he did, and the worst part about it was Tony just sat there the whole time. He could have stopped him at any point.
Yeah.
He could just said, look, this is enough. Phil, get out of here. But he let him go. We kept letting him go. And if you think of it this way, they're doing their anniversary show tonight.
Yeah.
Right? No Cody, no Omega, no the Young Bucks. Now, granted, 3 of those 4 guys I can't stand. I think they're awful, and you know which 3.
Yeah. The ones that are still there.
I think they're awful. But there's no AEW without those 4 guys.
Agreed.
That's the truth. I know Tony Khan had the money, but it was Cody's vision. It was Matt and Nick Jackson's vision, and Kenny Omega was there with them. AEW was their vision. They obviously couldn't do all of it themselves. They didn't have the funds. They found the billionaire friend. He funded it for them. And instead of letting wrestling people run the company and do things, he decided that he knew more than they was because he had the money, and businesses don't run like that.
And here's the sad part about all this too. AEW right now, and this is even without CM Punk, talent-wise, has a really good roster of
course,
talent.
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
It's how you utilize it, how you book them.
Yep.
And he's wasting it. And he's not booking enough matches for women. He's not doing this and that. It's just I don't know what it is. I know if he needs to have another like sidekick to kind of steer him.
Yeah.
This is a toy set from now. It's like
it's the
it's a toy.
booking and it's the practice. You're not going to get any better working 52 Wednesdays a year.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then a couple of Fridays here, and then a couple of extras here. You're not going to your people. Yeah, you let them book themselves at these independent promotions, stuff like that. You let your people do Comic Cons on the weekends and stuff like that. But for the most part, they're not doing anything to make themselves better. They're showing up once a week. They're doing their thing for 15 minutes, and then they go home.
Right.
That's where house shows come into play. Because the old adage is WWE is they test how you do with house shows before they put it on TV.
Right.
They do stuff like that. So I understand like they wanted to run a company to make it more like a professional sports team atmosphere. But there's no off season in pro wrestling.
They got to do away with the rankings. It's stupid.
But they've also just got to like book things a little bit smarter. You know what I mean? Like tonight, for instance, they book Wardlow versus Brian Cage.
Brian Cage, he's back.
Well, yeah, because
I haven't seen him in almost a year.
About it, what's the main event of SmackDown this Friday? Gunther against Sheamus 2.
Okay.
So Tony Khan's trying to do that. But the difference is there's a story going with Gunther and Sheamus. That started at Clash of the Castle, and it's still going. This was just a random, two big guys, they're going to go at an open challenge.
Which, by the way, that's a match of your candidate for the record.
Oh, that was a great match.
Right.
That was a good match.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's too bad because I think Tony let his ego get in the way of everything. And he pushed Cody out the door. And now, Cody's probably much happier because he probably has a lot less stress in his life now.
Yeah, I think Cody saw the signs coming, and he said, "You know what? I think I will get out of here."
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. I think that's what it's too bad because I don't know a wrestling fan that wasn't excited about AEW. Excited about AEW.
I mean, they're the reason I came back in the first place to watching wrestling again.
I was excited about it. I was very excited about it. Yeah. And it took about a month, and I was like, what in the Christ is going on here?
Right.
And then a year in, all of a sudden, or, almost 2 years in, you got Punk coming back. You got Bryan going there. I'm like, wow, they're really starting to get it. And then what really did it, that really got me soured, was having Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega's 1 hour time limit draw. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, Paige should have gotten that. Put Paige over, man.
Yep. Do that, and then but then Danielson and Paige did it.
To me, the down for me really start with there, like the way they booked Paige for his title run.
Oh, that was terrible. It was terrible.
No way in hell should Punk should have won that match against Paige by way too. No way in hell.
No, not at all. Not at all. They honestly should have kept the belt on Jericho for a while. I think kind of made him like a dominant champion.
Okay,
which I think would have been good.
I mean, the Mox was a decent champion.
Mox was decent. Mox was decent, but he's I don't know. I'm not convinced he's.
I like this. Well, we'll see. I mean, who knows?
I like
this Mox run though. I will say I like this run.
I do like the whole Jon Moxley character. I think it's cool. Yeah. I like the character that he did back in WWE when he was all bent out of shape with the gas mask and stuff like that. I thought that was a good character too.
Oh, okay.
I like this kind of crazy Jon Moxley. It's fun. Yeah. It's fun. It's good.
So last question. Let's go. Last question here. Does AEW survive another year beyond this year?
Yeah. That's a tough question.
I still say yes because I think they still have even though they're not growing their audience. I keep saying that's an issue. The audience they have right now still is sticking by them. So there's the consistency there with number.
It is, but there comes a point in time where you have to start to make some money.
Agreed. You
have to start to make. So you cannot. I mean, I know, like when he says things, I got the money to do it. I've got more money than WWE. And okay, fine. You've got billions and billions of dollars, but there comes a point in time where you have to be like, we can't just continue to throw all of this money away. They've got to. I don't. let's face the facts. The days of him signing these big stars away from WWE are over.
Yeah.
They're over.
He may lose them again. He may lose them soon.
Yeah, that's not happening anymore. That isn't happening. I mean, even realistically, if you think about it, like some of the people that like Hunter brought back right away, if you think about it, it's like they just like Karrion Kross, he wrote his time. He knew they're gonna bring me back. You know, Bray Wyatt knows they were gonna bring him back. So it's just a matter of time. And what's going on there now is doing nothing probably but just turning people off to it. You know, people who still need a chance and who want to have a chance to, you know, be on TV and get some spotlight.
Yeah.
Will obviously go all over that. But I mean, like, people try to make it out of that because, oh, he signed Bandito. You know, Hunter wanted Bandito. Triple H don't give two shits.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't give a fuck about that. Come on now. Anyway, Danny, thanks coming on the show as always, man. Plug anything you want to plug, Twitters and all that stuff.
You can do my Twitter. It's at Wicked Smart. I like
Smart.
Yeah, you know, the little Boston thing. I like that fun. Like I tell you what, I'm not going to block you if you disagree with me. I'm not going to do anything like that. I am what I am. I like to have fun. I like to have a good time. I love to talk sports.
Of course.
You know, I love meeting good people like you, EJ. You know, I met Duke. You know, I met a couple other nice people on Twitter. It's not all bad, is what I tell people.
I always tell people on Twitter, it's what you make of it, man.
Of course,
if there are douchebags out there, block them.
That's what it is. I mean, it's you know, I see people post stuff on Twitter and they're like, "Oh my God, this place is horrible. I can't believe it." What if you're gonna let a tweet from somebody ruin your day? You got serious problems, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's a bigger picture in life. You know, it's you know, Twitter is a cesspool, but it can be an entertaining cesspool.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. Totally agree with you. But
yep.
Thank you as always, man. It was great.
Well, let's hope we can talk again maybe after the holidays and the Patriots will have at least made the playoffs.
We shall see.
Thanks a lot.